Members of the 1954 undefeated Montrose High School baseball team are not only the newest members of the Sports and Community Hall of Fame, they were members of the highly revered Silent Generation, born between 1928 and 1945. This generation, characterized by work ethic, resourcefulness, mental focus, respect, loyalty, and willpower, led America post-World War II from an industrialized nation to the doorsteps of a nation built on huge advancements in technology, healthcare, and science. The Silent Generation operated within the system, kept their heads down, and worked hard and displayed a deep respect for their families, neighbors, coworkers, and communities. While the 1954 Montrose Baseball Team was part of the Silent Generation, you wouldn't have known that by the sound of their bats. This was a team that outscored their opponents by a whopping margin of 54 runs across 10 games, or by an average score of almost 7-1 runs per game. These Rams were the high school version of the Sultans of SWAT, and every team in their path feared their bats, gloves, and ability to execute. Under the unwavering guidance of Coach Vern Alward, the 1954 Montrose Nine were as good at fielding and pitching as they were at putting the wood on a fastball. Wayne Clark and Jim Helfrich were co-captains of the team, and Jim recalls that Chuck Duncan had an intimidating fastball and that he was known as the wild thing of his era. He once struck out 9 batters in one game. Jack Clolinger adds he was not only a hard thrower, but he could also hit the cover off the ball as well. Dale Keith claims Jack Clolinger was an all-around player. He could hit, he could field, he was incredibly competitive and could have played the game at a much higher level if he chose to. 1954 was a time of social transformation in America. Post-war ingenuity propelled advancements in the auto industry, technology, aerospace, and entertainment. Changes in social beliefs, culture, and fads were rapid. Drive-in movies, poodle skirts, pop collars, and cat eyeglasses were all the rage. Brown versus the Board of Education brought about necessary change with the integration of public schools. Roger Bannister broke the 4-minute mile record. Bill Haley's Rock Around the Clock hit #1 on the Billboard, and White Christmas was #1 at the movie theater. Marlon Brando won an Oscar for his acting in the movie On the Waterfront. Color TVs and microwaves were in their early beginnings, but nonetheless on the cusp of moving into American homes, where they would become a mainstay. Ike Eisenhower was president. A gallon of gas was 29 cents, and a loaf of bread cost 17 cents. In the world of sports, the Cleveland Browns beat the Detroit Lions in the NFL championship game. The Minnesota Lakers won the NBA championship, and our beloved Detroit Red Wings brought home the Stanley Cup. The New York Giants beat the Cleveland Indians in the 1954 World Series to reign supreme over America's favorite pastime, baseball. And yes, America's favorite pastime and our own Montrose Rams were at the pinnacle of our favorite sport. What could be better? As Jim Helfrich remembers, we had an amazing experience throughout this entire season, but there is one that stands out. We played a night game under the lights in Swartz Creek against an exceptionally good Swartz Creek team. In the moment, it was the sporting spectacle of the Flint area. Many came to watch the game. It was a hard-fought battle, but the Montrose Rams emerged with a 2-1 victory to keep their undefeated season intact. While the baseball team was extremely focused on winning, it wasn't without occasional levity and the kinds of stories that sometimes emerged from the locker room or dugout. The story has it that transportation to games was limited in these days, with little busing or second cars to shuttle players to scrimmages and games. This often caused Coach Alward to have to stuff his old Ford with all the players and the equipment manager, Jim Harris, into the car. There was no way around it. 4 to 5 players would have to ride in the trunk of the car while holding on to the trunk lid during transit. One of these trips took the team to Flushing to play the Raiders in a scrimmage. As legend has it, one of the players had to stop and use the bathroom, but was having zero luck communicating his imminent situation to the driver, Coach Allward, from the noisy confines on the road and from the interior of a car trunk. Being out of options, he propelled the trunk lid open, knelt at the opening, and remedied his unfortunate situation. This presented another problem. Let's call it coefficient draft, or as some have termed it, reverse hydro intrusion. Unfortunately, the occupants of the trunk got to experience this rare phenomenon and were fit to be tied when they arrived at their scrimmage. Poor Flushing. They had to endure the angry bats that day from the Montrose team. There's another story about the team finding out the hard way that you can't wash your red baseball socks with your light gray uniform. Apparently, Coach Allward wasn't very fond of the new color scheme, although the Rams were powerless to do much about it. Play on and play determined was the sentiment of Coach Allward. Members of the 1954 baseball team were excellent students. They participated in many other sports: band, school government, glee club, drama club, conservation club, and many other school-oriented organizations. To say they participated is perhaps stating it too lightly. They excelled. These men were class officers, all-county in football, basketball, and track in addition to baseball. They were quietly confident and put their minds to the task. Team members were co-captains Jim Helfrich and Wayne Clark, Jack Clolinger, Ken Eastman, Jim Papinaw, Chuck Duncan, Gene Barks, Tom Hoskins, Harold Myers, Bruce McCormick, Jim Andrus, Darrell Parks, John Osterman, Ward Dowell, Ron Grimm, Dale Keith, Ralph Morse, Jerry Yaster, Jerry Murdoch, Bat Boy Jim Harris, and Coach Vern Allward. This was a team in every sense of the definition of team. They were only tested once during the season in a game at Swartz Creek. The Montrose Rams were the undefeated County B champions. Michigan high school baseball did not have a state tournament prior to the 1970s, so they were dubbed by some sports writers the mythical state champions. They came mentally focused and harnessed their talents. They broke the willpower of their opponents, kept their heads down, and went to work. They are the silent generation, and it is with great honor that we welcome the 1954 Montrose Baseball Team into the Montrose Sports and Community Hall of Fame. Members, representatives, and families of the undefeated 54 baseball team, please come to the stage.